Alright fighters, how are we doing? So in today's video, we're going to look at weight cutting. Should you be doing it? Should you not be doing it? Now the short answer in my opinion, no weight cutting if you can avoid it. Now let me explain to you exactly why you shouldn't be weight cutting. But before I go into this, just going to introduce myself. So for those of you who haven't come across me and don't know who I am, I'm Finn Kenny and I'm a combat sports nutritionist currently living in Thailand, and I work with boxers, Muay Thai athletes, MMA fighters, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu athletes, bare knuckle fighters and all forms of combat sports athletes across the entire world in countries such as Thailand, the United Kingdom, Europe, Australia, New Zealand and many more different countries. And what I do is I help fighters take out the stress of making weight, eat more and feel the best that they've ever felt in their fights.
But it's the best camp I've ever had. I've had nutritionist on board this time as well, so shout out to Finn Kenny, sports nutritionist. It's been a massive help in this camp.
Well, number one, Finn Kenny, the nutritionist who I've had on board for the last two camps. He's the man behind melting all the butter.
Doing it. So weight cutting, what exactly is it? So it's not fat loss and it's not what people think. So fat loss would recur to actually losing body weight from adipose tissue, so your body's fat stores, over an extended period of time to get down to a relatively lean body fat percentage, 10-13% body fat, whatever it is you'd be trying to get down to. So we do that over an extended period of time, so 8-12 weeks is that kind of time frame. But on the week of the fight, what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and make the weight by acutely and rapidly losing body weight, but that's going to come from stored body water and changes to your diet. So I'm talking about carb depletion, so depleting your muscle glycogen stores and the water that's attached to it, lowering your fibre content, so getting rid of undigested food in your stomach, lowering your sodium and salt. Wherever sodium goes, water tends to attach and follow towards it, so we're going to get rid of that. And meal volume, and what we're going to do is we're going to try and minimise this weight cut on the week of the fight, rapidly lose that weight, and then what fighters would usually do is they'd come to the weigh-in on the day before and then they'll try and, like I said, they've lost all that weight and they're going to try and put all that size back on to come in bigger and much stronger and powerful than their opponent. But obviously we've got to understand it carries a lot of risk with it, and to be honest with you, this is actually more common in mixed martial arts, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Judo, Muay Thai than it is boxing. Although it does still happen in boxing, but boxers tend to not do it because they want to be light and energetic and obviously want to go for more rounds. It's more about being lean, but in MMA and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's more about grappling, being stronger, being able to grab your opponent and just having that overall power and strength, power to weight ratio over your opponent. But what I've got to understand with weight cutting is, yeah, it might seem like a good idea to come down a weight class and come in much bigger than your opponent to have that size advantage and be much stronger than them. But what you've got to realise is that weight cutting actually carries some risks. Of course it does. And from the research, what we've got to understand is that on the week of the fight, when we're cutting this weight and rapidly losing it, it's most likely going to come from aggressive dehydration techniques. And do you really think that aggressive dehydration techniques are going to be good for your body in the long term? I very much doubt it. But what we can actually tell from the research today is that the reason why it's not good is because what it's going to do is it's going to weaken your metabolism, so the rate at which you can convert your food into energy and the way that processes work within your body, it's going to weaken your brain function. So it's basically it could even shorten your memory, and it's going to basically reduce that fluid delivery and that blood volume to your brain, which is going to massively affect your concentration, your ability to react and sort of get your parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system to function during the fight. So it's basically a fight or flight response. You've got to be able to make them quick decisions, know when to move, know when to punch. Very important. Of course, it's going to reduce your liver function, so the way that your liver's able to function, your kidneys, and it's just going to weaken your body in general. So I genuinely would advise you not to do this weight cut and minimise it as much as you possibly can. So how much should you actually be cutting on the week of the fight? Now, with the fighters I'm doing, there's various amounts of weight cuts that we will do, and different numbers. Now I've done 2 kilograms on fight week, I've done 1 kilogram, I've avoided weight cuts, and sometimes I've done up to 8 kilograms on the week of the fight. And sometimes that's because a fighter has come on board with me and they're adamant on making this weight no matter what position they're in and what time frame they've contacted me at. And if that fighter's going to make the weight, I give my advice and say, listen, I don't think it's good for you, or I do think it's good for you. But in an ideal scenario, on a day before weigh, which is usually what we would be going for, and what I'm aiming this video at here is, we want to be minimising that weight cut to around 4 kilograms maximum. And usually the reason why we'd end up in a position of a weight cut and we'd have, let's say for example, 4 kilograms, 5 kilograms, 6 kilograms of a heavy weight cut is due to many different reasons. It's mainly inflexibility with the diet and a lack of accountability. Now, a lot of fighters will only really concentrate on making weight as soon as they've got a fight date or when they're 3-4 weeks before, and then what that's going to involve is restriction and basically panic. And then what's going to happen is you're going to restrict everything out of your diet, and then guess what happens? You can't do a weight cut because there's absolutely nothing to get rid of. There's no food volume, there's no sodium, there's no carbs, there's no fibre, and that's going to then come from body water and basically fluid from the blood plasma, which is very dangerous and it's not to be played around with. So you've got to minimise that. Not to mention the heat stress as well, that's going to come from hot baths and saunas, and you're going to run the risk of lowering your blood pressure and basically rising that core body temperature, which can end up fatal, and it has done for fighters in the past. So what we're going to try and do is, as I say, we're going to minimise that weight cut on the week of the fight, 3 to 4 kilograms, ideally 3 kilograms. And what we're going to do is we're going to focus on eating 4 to 5 meals on the week of the fight. Yes, you heard me right. Ice cream, food you like to eat, just getting the proportions right, keeping the fibre low, the sodium low, and your meal volume. And we're going to make sure that we're checking your weight regularly and actually tracking it, because whatever you don't track, you can't measure. So if you've actually got some flexibility with your diet, you're eating your food in the right proportions, and you're at the right weight on fight week, you're going to be able to avoid all these sweating methods. And guess what's going to happen? You're going to have much better longevity in your career, and you're going to just protect your body and keep yourself healthy for longer. And that's the name of the game. What you've got to understand with combat sports, boxing, MMA, Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, bare knuckle fight, it's about performing. MMA, boxing, Muay Thai, bare knuckle fighting, these sports are about performing well. Think about it. Whenever you're watching a big fight, what do you want to see? You want to see punches being thrown, you want to see big punches, you want to see drama, you want to see grappling, you want to see excitement. Guess what happens? If you're doing big weight cuts and you're not optimally hydrated and you're not optimally fueled, none of this can even happen. So think about it simply like this. Minimise that weight cut, 3 to 4 kilograms, have an easy refueling and rehydration, and focus on the game plan for your fight. And then guess what? You're going to be able to perform at your best, and that's what it's about, performing at your best every single time you have a fight. And listen guys, enough of me ranting on. If you like this information, you can give me a follow or a subscribe for more nutrition and dietetics for combat sports. Or even better, if you actually want to work with me and you want to have your fight camp fueled and you want to make weight easy, eat ice cream, eat 4 to 5 meals on the week of the fight, and finally take out the stress of making weight so that you can perform the best you've ever done in your next fight and the fights after that, what you can do is you can just head to my Instagram page, FinnKenny_nutritionist, or you can message me directly on Facebook and we can get to work. But for now guys, take care.